2023 NFL Alternate Uniform Review and Grades. This is an episode, a special episode, not a regular uniform show. This is something we've been waiting to do for a long time.
One of the most highly anticipated uniform releases, especially the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers, who had announced that they would be bringing their various throwbacks back and were delayed a year because of supply shortages, and we didn't get them until this 2023 season upcoming. They could have been last year, but we knew about them last year. So we especially were waiting for those to come out. And in addition to those, a bunch of surprises were brought out too.
Yeah, this is an exciting episode because we have some great uniform additions with the turnbacks and, like you said, surprises. We've got good, we've got bad, we've got some things that are in between with these new uniforms. So let's get straight into it with the first one that was announced, which was the Detroit Lions.
And we have the gray on gray uniform that they've had in previous seasons recently, but this new helmet, blue in a matte format with the very old Lions logo on the side. Doesn't match at all, doesn't make sense. In my opinion, they should have just waited until they had a uniform of blue on white or blue on blue to match up with this. And I don't like color on color, but it would have been better to have blue on blue than gray on gray.
Yeah, this shade of blue is referred to as Honolulu blue, and it's the only blue like this in the whole NFL. If I didn't read that, I never would have known, or honestly, I would have never even cared. So the Lions think they have something special with this new uniform set, and we can take it one piece at a time, but I just have to say right away that this was a bad start for the new uniforms. Well, I should say new helmets, but if we're just taking all the uniforms together, this was the first released, and we'll give our grades for each of these at the end. We'll get to that, but I have a number of issues with this. One is that this was never actually a helmet. This was the logo for the Lions in the 1960s, but it never appeared on the helmet. So this is something they've done for an anniversary this year, and it's a very weak helmet. I mean, for one thing, there's no striping down the middle. The stripes behind the logo. The Lions logo, the logo we all know, whether it's the more simple one or the more detailed lion, is one of the best logos in the NFL. This is, it's lame. I'm disappointed by it, and if you were going to improve anything with an alternate uniform with the Lions, the one thing you don't touch is the helmet.
Yeah.
You can fix the jersey, you can fix the pants, don't mess with the helmet.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense in so many ways that you just highlighted. This might be a historical logo, but it's inferior to the logo that they have had for very many decades now. And I feel the same way as I do about the Saints black alternate helmet that they released last year, paired up with their white on white throwback uniform. Same way as I do with these. If you're going to have this helmet, wait until you get a uniform combination to match with it. This is not baseball or some other sport where you can sell more hats or jerseys by having this helmet. It's just for the players on the field, and it doesn't make a lot of sense at this point.
Yeah, and why not just go back to the 60s uniform and go with the helmet that they weren't able to have back then? If you're going to go with this logo, instead of putting on a gray on gray, when you're looking at the jersey, this is the 90th anniversary. That's what they're celebrating for the team. A team that's been around this many years without ever winning the big one. That's the history of the Lions. But you put this classic turnback logo, which is not a good one, but you pair it up with a gray on gray, which is something that is very modern. Complained about gray in the NBA with the Kings. The only time gray works is baseball, but of course it's not that deep of a gray.
Right.
You're going dark gray, especially on gray in the NFL. You don't want to go there, but that's what the Lions have done.
Right, we saw this last year for the Thanksgiving game that the Lions played, and it was an awful uniform with the silver standard helmet that they use, and this just makes it even worse.
And of course we have to point out that it's a matte.
Right.
It's a matte helmet to go along with that. So why would you put a classic logo from the 60s on a matte helmet?
Lots of conflicts and themes, classic and modern here. Doesn't make sense.
And I don't think this is going to be one of those ones we're going to say, oh, you know what? When we actually saw it in the game, it's going to look better.
No.
If anything, I think it's going to look worse under the lights of Ford Field.
Right, and it's not the type that you'd think would grow on you either. Maybe if they had blue socks to go with it would help a little bit, but from what we've seen, that's not going to be the case.
JD, what's your grade?
I'll give this one an F.
I too give it an F. It deserves an F. And there's certain things in the past. I like historical, but there are certain things in the past that can stay in the past.
Yeah.
This being one of them. It's a matte helmet, weak logo, matte helmet on top of it, and then a gray on gray. I have nothing good to say about it. Forget about an easy A. This is an easy F.
Yeah.
Next up, the Minnesota Vikings.
And this was one of those surprise ones we did not know about in advance. It was very last moment in it. They're announcing it. And just another one of those situations where you look at their current uniform set and you look at these and you say there's no need for their current uniform set because just about everything here is better.
Yeah, the fact that the Vikings have stayed with such poor uniforms for so long when they have uniforms like this available it's been very disappointing. And they've pulled out the classic uniforms from time to time. And this is a perfect example of you have something ready to go. Can you please use this?
Yeah.
I've never said about the Vikings I've ever considered them among the best uniforms, but this is a very solid traditional uniform that you can respect and you can feel good when they go out in the field. Even though it's a purple uniform, I've always liked it.
Same here. And there are not too many things that I would want changed about this. The matte helmet is the most glaring thing. Glossy needs to be used for this set. And then I know it's not traditional with this set, but I do prefer the purple face mask. But the gray does work fine with this set.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about this. The one sore spot is the helmet, the fact that it's a matte, it's wrong that they've done that with this uniform. And I, too, have never liked the gray face mask. It's like the 49ers, too. Is it traditional? Yes. But it's just something very simple that you could do to improve a classic uniform.
Right.
That's a small complaint. It's really just the matte helmet. Otherwise, I really like it. And with these two players here, they wear the socks right. I
Amazing.
have to say that.
Amazing.
They wear the socks right, which we're so critical of. You go up to the jersey, and you got block numbers. Classic block numbers,
Right.
traditional numbers. And the pants look as good as they're going to get. The white with solid striping. You have the purple socks.
And they've also corrected the shoulder stripe too, so it doesn't go up to that strange curve. But I would give
what
these.
What grade do you give these?
I would give these a B plus, just because of the few things that we pointed out. Maybe could go even with an A minus, but very, very good.
Well, the way I'm looking at this is I'm putting it in the context of how would I rank it at the time that we had them. Say, we're talking about several decades ago. So my opinion really hasn't changed on these. I like them. I think they're very good for purple uniforms, but I don't love the uniforms. I would go B minus. That's my grade. B minus for the Vikings. And even with the matte helmet, as much as I dislike that, I'm not really going to knock them. I would just give these a B minus overall, whether they're the traditional or this slightly modified version. The Indianapolis Colts. Can I just get this out of my system right now? This is the stupidest one that we've seen.
Yeah.
There's one that's close to this. Very close to being as bad, but this is the stupidest and the most pointless. This is a team with a white helmet. And it's a white helmet done right, and they just went to the other extreme of just saying, let's do black.
Yep.
It doesn't work. It doesn't fit. There's no black in the regular team uniform at all.
Right.
And it clashes with everything else. It's like the Saints. You bring up the Saints, and it's a blue on blue on blue. Blue jersey, blue pants, blue socks, black helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, as silly and stupid as it would be to have a blue helmet would make more sense than this.
Much more sense. An inverted reverse version of their regular helmet was one of the things I was thinking when I was considering what the Colts might have when hearing about an alternate coming out for the Colts. And I thought the same possibly for the Lions too, just reverse their colors they typically have, but no, black in the case of the Colts. This, like I mentioned with the Lions, doesn't make sense too, because it's not like you're selling hats or jerseys. You're going to be able to make more money off this. This really just is something different, just to have something different. And when they wore the white helmet with the blue on blue jersey, it was tolerable. But this is just really ridiculous. And on top of it, the uniform, the jersey, and the pants also have this pattern, this weaved texture pattern as well. So it's not the clean blue. It's kind of that faded, worn look to it. So that's a step down as well.
And I don't even care if they put a black outline around the numbers. The Colts should not wear black.
Yeah.
This was a complete surprise, and I'm very disappointed with the Colts also. I would give this an F.
Same here, F.
It's Arena League to me. That's what it is.
That's a good way of putting it.
And if I'm going to hand out an F minus, this would get my F minus of all the uniforms. So I'm going to say from here on out, if you feel like something's worthy of an F minus, it's not really going to get any worse than this. F minus is on the table.
Okay.
If an A plus should be available, I don't see why an F minus shouldn't be.
Yeah.
We needed something better. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Back to the creamsicles. So unique. Nobody has this color combination. So it's very, very welcome to have back. Everything looks exactly as you would have expected it, which is comforting because there were some comments that were made by players that it was going to be a different uniform or some features of it were going to be different. We were speculating they might go orange on orange or white on white or white on orange or some different combination. But in the end, it ended up being what we were hoping.
This may be the most, I would say, from just looking around online and hearing what folks have to say, this may be the most requested and popular turnback uniform, not just of this season, but you're looking at what we considered last season. And this was one of those uniforms we thought they were going to start wearing last season, so we had to wait a whole nother year. They said, well, wait, you're going to have to wait till 2023. I can't think of another turnback uniform that's more popular than this, that people have really been wanting and anticipating, and now it's finally here. They've worn it a few times in the past, but this is especially exciting because for a few years, our first few years watching football, this is what the Buccaneers wore.
Right. This is what we grew up with, and we had a short taste of it before they changed to the red and pewter.
And I like the red and pewter.
Yeah.
It's good. It's above average. But it was a step down from this uniform set. I always felt that the pewter and red was, in some ways, they're borrowing from the 49ers. In other ways, they're borrowing somewhat from the Raiders, just with their own little tweaks.
Yeah.
This was something, as you said, completely original. There's no other team you can compare this to. If you see that color, you know it's the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And I don't love white helmets, but this is one of the best white helmets around. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this back on the field again. And like many, I would say, if they went back to this full time, do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it. I just wish we could have seen Tom Brady wear it.
Yeah, 1 year too late, and
they blew it with that. They really did.
Yeah. And they probably won't be featured as much in primetime games, so you won't see it as much. But if they want to bring this back, and if they somehow were to get to the Super Bowl and wanted to request to use it, go ahead.
Yeah, the Colts players there in the previous picture, they were hanging their heads, and they should. Levante David, he looks very proud to be wearing this, and you would be. I would be if I was wearing these uniforms. And he's been with them his whole career. So there's the reward of hanging around for a little while, that he gets to wear this uniform.
Again,
right. He actually did at the beginning of his career. Great.
Hey.
I'll say A minus. A minus. It's not quite in the very top tier for me, but it's close. It's very close. And another thing is, I would love to see if they had the road combination too.
Yeah.
If they had both versions, the home and the road. They work very well off each other. But indeed, welcome back, Buccaneers. And here we have another great one, the Seattle Seahawks. And this is another what we've been saying for years, even more for us than the Buccaneers, because ever since the Seahawks moved to the NFC, they've never worn this, not one time.
Right.
And it's been 20 years, 20 plus years, and they've never worn these. Finally, they wear them again. They have very northwestern colors with the rain and the dark blue and the blue.
Yeah.
When they wear them, and they're not wearing the neon green, for goodness sake.
Right.
But their regular standard uniform is the blue, dark blue. And this is what you'd think of as the Kingdom Seahawks. And this is another team, when you see that silver helmet, blue jersey, and what was the silver pants, also I immediately identify it as the Seahawks, and I wouldn't confuse them with anyone else. That's where these uniforms succeeded.
The only color combo like this, so very successful choice back when they used it, and successful again in bringing it back. And everything overall looks good. The one thing, though, is the silver pants are basically gray. There's a little slight shine to them, but it's too bad. They're basically gray. But everything else about the uniform is looking good. The helmet, especially in the model that Bobby Wagner wears, looks very good. The Seahawk logo is set a little bit farther back on most of the other current helmet models. But overall, there's not much to criticize.
Yeah, I love seeing that silver helmet again for the Seahawks, and that blue and green works very well. And it's also, it was a good color selection for the team's geographical location,
Right.
being Seattle. And it's not so dark. It's not bright,
Yeah.
but it's so dark, their regular uniforms, that I really like how these, I don't know if I'd say they pop in comparison to what they usually have.
Yeah.
The Seahawk is not angrier. They made the logo angrier, just like the Cardinals,
Right.
since they made the uniform changes over the years. But it's fine. I like it.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased to see Bobby Wagner wearing this, being a longtime Seahawk, returning after just being gone 1 year. When do you see that?
Yeah.
Someone who was with the team, I believe, for 10 seasons, leaves for 1 season, and is back in Seattle. And I've said this in other videos. I'm concerned about that as a 49er fan. I truly am concerned about Bobby Wagner being back. He's a 49er killer. But he sure wears the uniform well. I love seeing that silver helmet, the blue jersey. Like you said, a little disappointed that we didn't get the silver pants that we should have. It's more of a gray with a ever so slight shine to it. Blue socks, if they went to this, and this is another that would be a huge improvement. And even though these are not, again, the very top tier of the league, when we grew up, so many uniforms I would put in the category or the grade of like the B range.
Yeah.
And that's why we say, well, it's the uniform decline, and we've been in the uniform decline for so long.
Yeah.
You just take the 80s and the 90s especially, and when I'm looking over all the teams, generally I like the uniforms more than I don't, or they're I'm in that solid C plus, B minus B range. things have changed in Seattle, I would love to see them return to these full time in the sunlight, not under the lights of the dome.
Yeah. The contrast of this uniform is so much better than the current set. Just having a different color pants. That
Green.
matches
So I just got
the
some
helmet.
green instead of neon green.
And that too. But the angry Seahawk is not necessary, just like with the Cardinals. Both were fine the way they were. Uniforms, in our opinion, were at some of the best stages they ever were at in the 80s and 90s. Refined, cleaned up versions of the originals or classics. And like you said, they've been declining since those times. And again, as we mentioned with the Buccaneers, Tom Brady didn't get to wear the creamsicles. Russell Wilson didn't get to wear these. He even had a Photoshop picture of himself in these. So it's too bad we won't get to see him in them. Just missed out.
Oh, and speaking of numbers, we really haven't gotten the numbers that much on our uniform show. Great to see Bobby Wagner back at 54 again.
Yes.
45. It could have been much worse, but 45 with the Rams, didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's good to see a linebacker in the 50s, especially him. He's going to be a Hall of Fame player. He's got nothing left to prove. He's had a great career. 54. So
Yeah.
what's your grade?
Give these an B plus because of the pants primarily.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a B. I don't know if if they actually had true silver pants, I'd put them up to a B plus. This is a very solid B, and I would say the second uniform that I'm looking forward to the most of actually seeing on the field. I'm really excited to see these in season.
Yeah.
Because we have talked about it for years. We said, well, why can't they just wear them for 1 week?
Yeah.
Just 1 week. What would be the harm of doing that?
Before the one shell rule.
It took long enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have a real surprise. So we were expecting the Buccaneers. We were expecting the Seahawks. The Tennessee Titans are going to be wearing the Oilers. And this is the best version of the Oilers uniforms.
This one was not as last minute as the Vikings. It was a surprise, though. After the initial set of 3 that we were aware of, Buccaneers, Eagles, and Seahawks, we start hearing about the Titans possibly bringing back some sort of Oilers throwback. I was hoping that this would be what they would go with, but other suggestions were made about other possible ones from the past. This is what they went with, though. The last version of the Oilers, the most refined and perfected, in my opinion. And it's great to see, especially when players are wearing the socks correctly. And everything looks pretty much accurate to the original Houston Oilers, Tennessee Oilers at the very end uniforms. And one note that I hadn't really realized was how big the stripe is in the middle of the helmet. At first I thought it was an exaggeration and that was something that they had changed, but we looked back at old pictures and it was that big. So they really were accurate in their reproduction here.
The Titans have some of the worst uniforms in the NFL. There's really not much I like about the Titans. I think they have a below average stadium. I think they have I just don't care for the name of the Titans very much. They have a bad helmet, whichever one they've gone with over the years. They're all bad. And the uniform and the numbers we ranked it as the third worst uniform in the NFL the last time we did our rankings, and my opinion hasn't changed at all on these. The Texans should have done whatever they could have. I don't care what amount of money they had to pay to become the Oilers.
Yeah.
Whatever the cost was, would have been worth it to get the rights to be the Oilers instead of the Texans.
Yeah.
I think the Texans also. Bad name, forgettable uniforms. This is another classic. It's a beauty that we grew up with.
Yep.
It's one of the most underrated turnback uniforms, period. The Chargers get so much love with the powder puff blues, and to me, the Titans they're almost right up there with the Chargers. I think they're that good, and for being a white helmet, which we've said so many times, already said before, not being white helmet fans, this is one of the best white helmets in all of NFL uniforms. The only thing you can't really see on this picture here is you can't really see the Titan or the Oilers logo. That's one of the reasons why I'm so looking forward to seeing these in the sun with the home uniform in Tennessee. I mean, this is going to be great seeing these, and these do pop.
Yeah.
And they are exciting uniforms. I mean, in some ways, because they have the helmet with the stripes, which we're both huge fans of. I do put this on the level of the Chargers now. I'm thinking about it. I think they are that good. The Chargers home. I mean, the only thing I don't like about this uniform is I don't like stripes on socks. I like solid socks, colors. But the helmet's great. The jersey's great. Other than that little complaint about the socks, I like the pants. Can we just make these the permanent uniform?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very unique, and also unique for the Tennessee Oilers because historically they wore white on white most of the time, and the final season of their existence they wore white on white the entire season. Every single preseason game, every single regular season game, one of the few teams in history to do that. So, very interesting and nice to see the blue back here. But so many things about the uniform just all complement and work together. The various stripes in the various different places, all the same, coordinated, the colors coordinated between the borders and numbers and helmet. And having the bigger stripe really does help with the white helmet right down the middle. And having a colored face mask helps a lot too for a white helmet.
And though it doesn't make any sense from, again, if we're talking about geographical location, it doesn't make any sense that they would be the Tennessee Oilers, but who cares? Just be the Tennessee Oilers.
Yeah.
We talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. Does anyone care about the fact that there are no major lakes in Los Angeles? No.
Utah Jazz. Yeah.
The Utah Jazz. Go for it.
Yeah.
Be the Tennessee Oilers. Because we've been robbed of one of the better uniform sets in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just like to see the red sleeves swapped out, even though they work and
It's optional.
it can work. Blue or white would look better.
Yeah, it's been a shame it's taken also this long to get around these because I would say, we brought up the Buccaneers as the most popular and I think requested turn-back uniform. Before that, it was the Chargers. But you never really heard any mention of the Oilers. And we would get the Chargers every once in a while, too.
Yeah.
as a turnback. But Oilers, I'm giving this an A-.
I'll give it an A.
We had a great one with the Oilers, and now we've got a stinker with the Browns. Cleveland Browns decided to pull this out, and there are a lot of problems with it. Take it away.
Previously, they wore these with orange helmets with numbers on the side. Because of the one shell rule being in place, they couldn't wear a white helmet. And in my opinion, that looked all right, decent. But then this here, as a uniform from an era where there were no helmets, so they have to make up a new helmet to go with it. They chose white. And we both rank the Browns' standard uniforms very high.
They were in our top 10.
Yes.
They were in our top 10.
So to see them alternate, get away from those in any way, is always disappointing to begin with. But then when you introduce something like this, it makes it even worse.
For this, right?
Yes.
You're trading that for this. And this is especially relevant for us because we're 49er fans, and the 49ers are going to Cleveland, and that game is one of the games that the Browns are going to wear this, and they chose it against our number 3 ranked uniform team, the 49ers.
Yeah.
At least you could pick it against a team that doesn't look so good. They are going to look so bad compared to the 49ers on the other side of the field.
Yeah, and it could have been a really nice uniform matchup on both sides. Yes. And as we mentioned before, don't like it when an AFC team wears an alternate against an NFC team because usually that's the only time you're going to see those two teams matched up in 4 years. And you don't get to see the standard uniforms facing off against each other when they do this.
Okay, they are called the Cleveland Browns. And I understand that usually their helmet is orange. One of the reasons I have a problem with this is, we end up kind of lumping the Bengals and the Browns together over the years. Why? Because they're loser teams in the North. And I've always said, until, there's a few exceptions, and the Bengals have been better, but we're just saying historically, the Bengals and Browns are there just for the Steelers to squash. Mm-hmm. That's really what they are. For the Steelers, they see the Bengals and Browns on the schedule. For the most part, they just said over the years, 4-0. 4 automatic wins on their schedule.
Yep.
So I always say, well, they're the loser teams, and they both have the orange helmets. The Browns have brown, and then the Bengals have black at home. I just find this, they were late to the game. The Bengals had the white helmet last year in the same division, yet they did it, and they did it well, and it made sense because, as we said last year, there is such a thing as white Bengal Tigers.
Yep.
This is just, instead of being black for the sake of black, this is just white for the sake of being white. There's nothing here.
Yeah. The numbers are inferior. The helmet is inferior. They still have some of the striping from their standard set on their sleeves and socks, but not needed.
There's worse. We've seen the Colts. They're worse. What
Yeah.
kind of grade are you giving this?
I give it a D.
The striping's good. I see it as a pointless and unnecessary uniform, and just all white from top to bottom. I'll give them a D too. The Jets. This was a real surprise.
This was late and announced in a strange way. There was a video that came out that showed one of the players behind a tent curtain, just a sliver, with this on, and people put together that it must be the Sack Exchange Jets that we're looking at here. And a couple days later, a day later, it was released and confirmed, and this is what you have. And these are a big improvement over what they have. They're not Broadway Joe Jets uniforms, but they are much better than what they have, and we welcome.
Yeah, I can't help it, but whenever we discuss the Jets and uniforms, we always keep saying, give us the Joe Namath Jets uniforms, the Super Bowl III uniforms. And that's really where they've had their greatest success. It's how they've won their only Super Bowl. They were in a couple championship games with Rex Ryan's Jets. And for me, that's the best uniform set they've ever had. This would be number 2. And I do like these. I'd still prefer those over these, but this is a great improvement. Anytime they can wear these instead of their regular uniforms, which we ranked as number 31, if I'm remembering correctly, and especially the black, and I don't have to see men wearing transparent clothes on the field and stockings, I'm all for these, or anything else they can wear instead of those. Yeah. And I'm happy for Aaron Rodgers that he's got at least one good uniform to wear, because traditionally he wears the uniform right. He's still got the classic helmet. Still getting used to that number 8, though.
Yeah. When we heard about Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, of course, one of the first things that we were thinking of is what he's going to look like in the current Jets uniform, and we were very disappointed at that prospect. This helps. And if they want to go ahead and get some sort of waiver from the league to wear these, if they make the playoffs or Super Bowl or whatever,
please,
go ahead.
By all means, just wear these every time you were going to wear white, or do a Titans. Just wear them all season.
Yeah. The one main thing to note here is that they are using the shell of their standard helmet, the slightly metallic dark green, so it's not the exact representation of the Sack Exchange Jets helmet, but it's close enough. And the simplicity is nice. Green, the white, no black, nothing else needed. We just need players to wear their socks correctly, but other than that, it's looking pretty good.
They don't blow you away, but again, respectable, solid, professional-looking uniforms.
Yes.
Which is what they don't have regularly. And in fact, they're going to be wearing these, as we've heard, the first week.
Yeah.
The first Monday night game, they are playing the Bills. They're hosting the Bills in New York, and they're going to be wearing what would be a road uniform, and it's going to be it's going to be basically a color rush game. That's what I fully expect.
Most likely.
The Jets will be wearing white on white, but again, it's a traditional uniform. Thankfully, they have green socks.
Yeah.
The Bills are going to be going, though, with their blue, all pajama look. I hope they don't, but I'm not holding my breath on that one at all.
Yeah, last year they decided to make that switch to being primarily blue on blue, and it was not a good look.
What's your grade?
I give these a B+.
We give them a solid B. And I'm actually pleased to see how many Bs we're handing out, and even some As.
Yeah.
Our alternate helmet review last year was not so positive. We had couple good ones.
Yeah.
There's been some bad, but there's a lot of good here.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jets. Now we're going down again. The Denver Broncos. Explain to me what this is.
This is the snow-capped white helmet, which doesn't make sense because the blue one they had was closer to the throwback look they were sort of going for here with this color rush uniform set. And for me, it was the best feature part of this color rush uniform set, and they decided to change it to white.
What bothers me at the Broncos over the years is they've experimented with all these different helmets, and they've never gone back, at least not from my memory, to actually wearing their 70s, 80s, 90s uniforms the right way. They just refuse to do it. They've been wearing the dark helmet. They've had the right logo. They have the right stripe, but they've worn the dark helmet, which is wrong. Can they give us the right helmet, the lighter blue, with the solid orange?
Yeah.
It was another one I took for granted. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of John Elway, not so much what their home has been, the blue on white or the blue on blue over the years with the hooks.
Right.
Yeah, I have a problem. I can't stand the hooks, to be honest. I like their regular helmet. But could they just give us the 70s, 80s, 90s, the classic Broncos look, and they can't give us, and they come up with something completely new to me that just, it doesn't make, again, another that just doesn't make any sense for me. It's now, we've gone, last year was the black year. This year is the year of, well, we're just going to do white. Everyone's got to do white, and we're going to do white for the sake of white.
Yeah. Just like with the Lions, it's a color rush or alternate uniform set, and they're just changing the helmet color or helmet design color just for the sake of it. Should have just gone back to the throwback like all these other teams have this year. Would have been a lot better.
Russell Wilson's worn some bad uniforms in his career.
Yeah.
This won't be the worst. Of course, it's the neon
Yeah.
is the worst. And, of course, the all-neon shoes, too.
Right.
This is a bad one. What grade do you give it?
Give it a D minus.
That's exactly what I was going to go with, too. D minus. Very close to an F, but the thing that saves it is the design of the helmet is still there. The numbers are good. I can't complain. There's nothing that makes me scream here. But it's unnecessary, and it's pretty much just a color rush.
Yeah.
When they had so many other good options available.
Yeah.
The Eagles. This is one that we also were waiting for a full calendar season, and they're finally bringing them back. And another, I should say, that we grew up with.
Yes.
So this whole set of uniforms, we've said it so many times, is very relevant for us between, and I'm not even sure if I can remember them all off the top of my head, but between the Titans, the Buccaneers, and the Seahawks. The Titans, Buccaneers, Seahawks, and now the Eagles. These were 4 uniforms when we first began watching that these teams were wearing.
Yeah, and this was the Eagles we grew up with for at least a few years, and then they switched over to basically what they have now, the darker green. And like the Seahawks, it's so close, except for the pants being basically a grayish, slight slight shine to it, but hardly noticeable. But there's a little shine to it. But other than that, great to see the socks. Will the players actually wear them that way? We'll see.
Well, I mean, look at the inconsistency right here and
you got
in
bare
our
knees.
picture here.
Jalen Hurts is halfway, but it's still better than the all-white that they changed to last year for whatever reason.
And that was a factor why they lost the Super Bowl.
We believe so. Why they made that change, just like the Vikings, they always have had the black, green, and socks, and then they just go all white.
Yeah, I'll get my negatives out really fast, and that is, yes, they need silver pants. That's what they should have. I wonder what these guys are going to do because they're usually stocking wearers.
Yep.
And like we said, with these three, they can't even agree for the picture to get it right and be uniformed. We've got, yes, the bare knees here, and then we've got Hurts with the stripes too low. I almost call it the ankle bracelet look, which I can't stand on a man. And then Brandon Graham over here on the right, he gets it right.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to wear it. So I'd say from the waist up, we're looking good.
Yeah.
We're looking good with the helmet, and the Kelly green is one of those colors that is unique to the Eagles. You see that, and immediately I know it's the Eagles. And I think that's what was a strength of a lot of these teams that we're talking about. It's that color that you immediately recognize and identify that team with, which you don't really get so much now.
Yeah.
Other than, say, your really traditional teams. The Packers, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Steelers, the Raiders. You know what they are.
Yeah.
Or maybe some other teams to a lesser extent, the Chiefs. But with a lot of these teams that we've talked about, that's the case. We said the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, the Oilers, a little less, but especially the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, and the Eagles. And green's good. Green's good when it can be done right. I mean, the Jets, I don't really say that about the Jets green, but I do like green just as long as it's not. I think they've gone too dark, the Eagles, over the years. And we even said last year, well, they wore the black, and it just seemed like a subtle change between the black and the dark green that the Eagles have.
Yeah.
And they wore these week 1, 2010. And that was an impressive uniform matchup. It was Michael Vick against Aaron Rodgers in Philadelphia, and both teams, I mean, I was just giving 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
Packers, for me, best road uniform in football, best home uniform in football. And then the Eagles were wearing these. And it was an example of 2 green teams, but they were different enough that they looked like their own team out there, and they looked great. And this has been way overdue. That's the last time. It's been over 10 years since they've worn these. And it's time to return full-time as the Eagles uniform.
Yeah.
This should be it. So what's your grade?
I'll give them a B+.
Yes. I also give this a B+. I don't know if I would knock it up to or bump it up to an A- if they had the silver pants. I'd say B+. I'll also give these a B+ for the fact that they've got their own unique green. I like the helmet and the jersey. We'll see what the pants look like. This is another one of those ones that we'll say, let's see what they look like on the field when they actually play the games. So overall, we had some bad ones. We really did, with The Colts, especially. The Browns were bad. But this is a rare example when we're reviewing uniforms, current NFL uniforms, even when we're talking about turnback uniforms in sports. There's actually more good than bad this year. If we look at all the grades, when you're considering, okay, well, I got to put the Lions in there too. Well, the Lions and Colts are Fs. The Browns are barely better. They're hanging on with a D. But you look at the Vikings, very good. The Buccaneers, outstanding. The Seahawks, it's their best look in their franchise history. The Titans are fantastic. The Jets are solid. Yeah, the Broncos are bad too. It really is extremes when you're looking at it. The Vikings to me are the only one that's, for me, a B minus range. But we've got a lot of A minuses, B pluses, Bs in here. And if I'm just going through them, I would say, well, for the Buccaneers, that's their best uniform in their franchise history. Seahawks, that's their best uniform in franchise history. Titans, whether the Titans, Tennessee, or Houston, that's the best one they've had. And then the Eagles, that's 4. That's really incredible, actually.
Yeah. So it was a long wait for some of these, and we were not disappointed in general. And it helps to have such good ones to override such bad ones. Very happy to see, especially the Buccaneers, Seahawks, and Eagles, after waiting so long, basically get it right. And then to have the nice surprises of the Oilers and Vikings and Jets, too.
There's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
We're going to have a good season of uniforms, and then we can just avoid the Colts and the Lions.
Yeah.